You know that one friend who's so off limits it's almost a cruel joke? That's Gary. We've been close for 3 years, ever since I spilled beer on him at a mutual friend's game night and we ended up laughing about it for a solid 10 minutes. Since then, it's been Call of Duty marathons, inside jokes about bad action movies, and late-night drives where we talk about everything and nothing. He's the kind of guy who makes you forget he's straight, until he talks about some girl he matched with on Tinder. And it's like a glass of cold water to the face. I work in marketing, spend too much time overthinking everything, and according to my ex, I have adorable insecurity issues, whatever that means. Gary, on the other hand, is this carefree construction dude with muscles that stretch his shirts and a laugh that could get someone pregnant. He's goofy, kind, and always smells like sawdust and cologne. My type. Unfortunately, everyone's type except gay. At least that's what I thought. It happened on a Friday night. I was home alone, buzzed off 2 glasses of wine and half a joint, scrolling through messages on this gay dating app I barely use. One guy had asked for a pic. Something sexy, he said. Normally I'd roll my eyes and ghost, but that night, I was feeling myself. Lighting was good. Hair was decent. I was in that tipsy sweet spot where self-confidence temporarily overrides common sense. So I did it. I stripped down, gave the camera a sultry look, and took a shot. It was tasteful-ish. Full body. Naked. Just suggestive enough to pass for flirtation, but explicit enough to definitely not end up in the wrong place. And then I sent it. At least I thought I sent it to Jake from Jack's. Turns out, when your thumb is lazy and your contacts are alphabetized, Gary is dangerously close to Jake. I didn't realize until about 5 seconds later, after I got that little delivered notification, and wondered why the app looked a little off. Then I saw it. No app, no Jake, just a regular text message, with my full naked self beaming up at me. And the recipient? Gary. Gary, my straight best friend. My off-limits, never going there, don't even think about it Gary. Dropped my phone like it had caught fire. My stomach did this weird backflip thing and my whole body flushed hot. Maybe he wouldn't open it. Maybe he wouldn't see it until tomorrow. Maybe his phone would explode and spare me the humiliation. But as my phone buzzed again, I knew that was just wishful thinking. It was too late. Gary had seen it, and now everything was about to change. Sleep didn't visit me that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the damn message thread. My bare body, that innocent little delivered, the lack of response. Each minute passed like it was dragging broken glass across my nerves. I kept checking my phone, waiting for the inevitable text, or even worse, nothing at all. At 2:14 a.m., I typed out a message. Dude, I'm so sorry. That wasn't meant for you. I hovered my thumb over the send button and deleted it. At 3:50 a.m., I convinced myself to just own it. LOL, you weren't supposed to see that, but hey, now you know how fine I am. Delete. By sunrise, my thoughts had spiraled from mild embarrassment to full-on moving to another country levels of panic. I imagined Gary showing the pic to his friends, laughing, maybe getting mad, maybe blocking me. I ran through every possible outcome like it was some sick episode of Black Mirror. My stomach was in knots. Still no reply. By the time I got to work, I was operating on caffeine and pure dread. I kept checking my phone between meetings, hoping for something. I'd even welcome a WTF dude at this point. Anything was better than silence. Then, at exactly 11:37 a.m., my phone buzzed. Gary, we need to talk. 5 words, no emoji, no context, just straight-up anxiety fuel. I stared at it for so long my coworker asked if I was okay. We agreed to meet at his place after work. I told myself a million things on the drive over. He's just going to laugh it off. He'll say it's cool. Maybe we'll high-five and never speak of it again. But the second I saw him at the door, I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. He looked unreadable. Calm, yeah, but serious. Not angry, just focused, like he'd spent time thinking about what he wanted to say. And that somehow made it worse. He stepped aside to let me in, and we sat on the couch like 2 people waiting for a bomb to go off. All right, he said finally, turning toward me. Why did you send it to me? I laughed. Awkward, brittle. I didn't. I mean, I did. But it was a mistake. I meant to send it to someone else. Look, I was tipsy, and I thought I looked good, and I just tapped the wrong contact. He nodded slowly, taking it in. His expression didn't change. That made my heart pound harder. I couldn't tell if he believed me or if he was offended, or weirded out. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. You looked good. I blinked. What? He leaned back, casual as hell, like we were discussing a new movie or something. In the pic, you looked good, confident, sexy even. I stared at him, completely thrown off. You're messing with me. I'm not, he said, eyes locked on mine. I've just never seen you like that before. I laughed again, this time a little shakier. Well, yeah. I usually keep the naked selfies off our group chats. He smirked, but his gaze lingered. Not playful, not teasing, more like studying me. The air shifted. Something unspoken hung between us. And in that moment, for the first time in 3 years, I couldn't tell if Gary was just being nice or if he was flirting. After that night, nothing between us felt normal anymore. Gary didn't bring up the picture again, but something had shifted. At first, I thought I was imagining it, like maybe I was the one acting weird, reading into things, waiting for a punchline that never came. But it wasn't just in my head. It started with little things. He'd touch me more, his hand brushing my knee when we sat on the couch, a lingering pat on my shoulder, standing a little too close in the kitchen. Innocent stuff, technically, but it didn't feel innocent. We were at his place watching a dumb action flick one night, and he flopped onto the couch beside me like always. But this time, his thigh pressed against mine and stayed there. I shifted slightly, thinking he'd move. He didn't. He just reached over and stole a fry off my plate, grinning like a kid. Seriously? I said, giving him a look. Sharing is caring, he replied, popping it into his mouth. Besides, you owe me. I'm still emotionally scarred from your little photo shoot. My face burned. Are we still talking about that? He laughed. You brought it up. I did not. He just smirked and turned back to the TV. That was how it went for the next few days. Flirting disguised as jokes, lingering touches that sent static through my skin. One night he leaned over me to grab the remote and his chest practically brushed my face. When I looked up, he was staring down at me like he wanted to say something. But he didn't. I started losing sleep again. Only this time it wasn't from panic. It was from possibility. I didn't know if he was messing with me or if something deeper was happening. I didn't want to hope, but it was getting harder not to. A week later, we were walking home from a bar, just the two of us, a little buzzed, full of wings and beer and that lazy comfort that only comes from years of friendship. We ended up sitting on the hood of his truck, looking up at the stars like we used to do when life felt simpler. He was quiet for a while, then said, I haven't stopped thinking about it. I turned to him. What? The picture, he said, eyes fixed on the night sky. I mean, it caught me off guard, but not in a bad way. I didn't know what to say. My heart was thudding so loud I was sure he could hear it. He looked at me, his face more serious than I'd ever seen it. Can I tell you something without you freaking out? I nodded, barely breathing. I've thought about it before. Not just the picture. I mean, I've wondered what it would be like, with a guy, with you. The words hit like a wave. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me thought this was some sort of cruel joke, or worse, a phase he was testing out on me. Are you messing with me? I asked, my voice low. No. He looked hurt that I'd even ask. I just never said anything because I didn't want to ruin what we had. I didn't know what it meant. And then you sent that pic, and it was like something clicked. I stared at him. Gary, I'm not some test drive. I'm not here to help you figure yourself out and then get left behind. I know that, he said, eyes locked on mine. I'm not trying to play with you. I can't stop thinking about you. We sat in silence, the tension thick between us. I didn't know what was happening. If this was real. if I should pull away or lean in. And then he kissed me. It wasn't slow. It wasn't hesitant. It was quick, urgent, and hot, his hand on the side of my face, his lips crashing into mine like he couldn't help himself. I kissed him back without thinking, heart pounding, blood roaring in my ears, but just as quickly as it started, he pulled back, eyes wide like he'd just stepped off a cliff. "I'm sorry," he breathed. I didn't mean to." I sat there stunned, lips still tingling, the world tilting under me. Gary had just kissed me. My straight best friend had just kissed me, and I had no idea what to do next. I didn't answer Gary's texts for 3 days. Not because I was mad. Not really. It was more like my entire brain short-circuited, and I needed to reboot. I kept rereading. His last message. "I'm sorry." As if a single kiss could be undone with an apology. As if my whole world hadn't tilted off its axis the moment his lips met mine. Every time I thought about it, I got this hollow ache in my chest. He kissed me. And for a split second, it felt real. Too real. That was the problem. Because I couldn't stop wondering. Was it just curiosity? Heat of the moment drunken impulse? A test drive before he ran back to the safety of girls and locker room jokes? I wasn't interested in being anyone's experiment. I'd been through that before. Guys who just wanted to try it once. Guys who swore they felt something until the shame crept in. And suddenly, I was a secret they couldn't look in the eye anymore. I didn't want that again. Not with Gary. Not with someone who mattered. On the 4th day, I came home from work, threw my keys on the counter, and found him standing in my living room. "Jesus, Gary," I snapped, startled. "You can't just walk in here." "You gave me the code," he said quietly. "That was before you kissed me and ghosted my entire frontal lobe." He looked wrecked, hair a mess, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't been sleeping either. "I've been texting you," he said. "Calling. I saw," I said flatly, walking past him into the kitchen. Didn't know what to say. He followed, stopping a few feet behind me. "Then let me say something." I stayed silent, arms crossed. "I can't stop thinking." "About you," he said. "And I know I screwed everything up. I shouldn't have kissed you out of nowhere, I know that. But I've been feeling this thing for a while. And when you sent that picture, yeah, it surprised me. But it also made me realize what I've been trying not to admit." I turned to him, jaw tight. "Which is what? That you're bi? Curious? Horny and bored?" "That I want you," he said, voice cracking slightly. "I don't know what I am. I don't have a label for it. All I know is, when I'm around you, it's different. It's always been different." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But I was scared. And I was angry. "You don't get to just flip the switch and kiss me and make everything okay," I said. "You're straight, Gary. This is a joke to you. A fantasy you'll get over." His eyes narrowed, and for the first time, he actually looked hurt. "Do I look like I'm joking? I've been losing my mind for days, wondering if I screwed everything up by being honest. You think this is easy for me?" "Imagine how it feels for me," I shot back. "I don't get to experiment. I don't get to kiss my best friend and then figure it out later. If this goes bad, I lose you. I lose everything." We stood there, both breathing hard, raw, and exposed. And then, like something cracked open between us, he stepped forward. "I don't want to lose you either," he whispered. "But I can't keep pretending this isn't real." This time, when he kissed me, it was slower, more certain. His hands found my waist, and mine gripped his shirt like I was afraid he'd disappear if I let go. It deepened fast, mouths parting, bodies pressing together, heat flaring in every inch of contact. We stumbled back toward the couch, his fingers in my hair, mine tracing the line of muscle beneath his shirt. Every nerve in my body was lit up. It felt so good, not just physical, but like something was finally aligning. He pushed me down gently, hovering over me, our breaths ragged. But then I paused. "Gary," I whispered. He stopped immediately, eyes searching mine. "Too much?" I nodded. "Yeah, not like this. Not yet." He exhaled, nodding slowly. "Okay. Okay, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." He slid beside me on the couch, arms still. Around me, both of us staring at the ceiling like it might give us answers. Nothing about this was simple. But in that moment, with his hand in mine and his heartbeat steady under my ear, I realized something. Whatever this was, it was real. And that terrified me more than anything. I told myself I needed space, that things were moving too fast, that if I wasn't careful, I'd lose control of the situation and my heart. So I pulled back again. Gary respected that. He didn't press. He didn't text. He just vanished for a while. At first, it was a relief. Then it was quiet. Then it was unbearable. I talked to Mia, my best friend and occasional life coach. We met for coffee one morning, and she could tell something was off before I even sat down. "You look like you haven't slept since 2009, she said, eyeing me over her cup. "Thanks," I muttered. I told her everything. Well, almost everything. The kiss, the confusion, the night we nearly went too far. How I pushed him away because I was scared of being another phase in someone's self-discovery journey. She listened, didn't interrupt once, just nodded, waiting until I'd finished rambling before finally saying, "Okay? But what if he's not confused? What if he's just figuring out that he's always felt something and never had the space to say it?" I didn't have an answer for that. "He's not your ex," she said gently. "He's Gary. You know his heart. Don't punish him for trying to understand it." That stuck with me for days. I started replaying everything. The little glances, the times he checked in on me when no one else did, the stupid inside jokes only we understood, the way he kissed me like he meant it. Maybe I had pushed too hard. Not to protect myself, but to stop myself from hoping too much. Then just like that, he came back. It was a Friday night. I was halfway through folding laundry when I heard the knock. I opened the door, and there he was. Same hoodie, same messy hair, but something different in his eyes. He looked settled, like he'd been through a storm and come out clearer. "Hey," he said. "Hey," I breathed. He stepped in quiet for a beat. Then he said, "I've been thinking a lot." "Yeah, me too." He exhaled. "I'm not straight. I don't think I ever was. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't let myself say it." I swallowed hard. "And now?" "Now I know. One thing for sure," he said. "Whatever label fits or doesn't, I want you." It was so simple, so honest. And in that moment, every wall I'd built came crashing down. I walked toward him slowly, almost afraid he'd vanish again. But he stayed. I cupped his face, and he leaned into my touch like he'd been waiting for it. We kissed. No rush this time, just softness and certainty. He touched me like he meant every movement. Hands steady, breath warm against my skin. We made love that night. I didn't expect it to feel so quiet, like a truth unfolding between our bodies, one kiss at a time. It wasn't about proving anything. It wasn't about lust or escape. It was about us, finally choosing each other, without fear. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets, our fingers linked. No words, no labels, just the soft rise and fall of our chests, the warmth between us, and the feeling that, for the first time, we were exactly where we were meant to be. I woke up to sunlight brushing across Gary's bare shoulder. His arm wrapped around me like he'd always belonged there. His chest rose and fell against my back, slow and steady, anchoring me in a reality that still felt a little like a dream. I didn't move. I didn't want to break the spell. His fingers, still curled around mine, gave a small squeeze. "You awake?" I smiled. "Barely." He pressed a kiss to the back of my neck. "Good. Then this isn't a dream." I turned to face him, our legs tangled, faces close. "You good?" "I'm more than good," he said, eyes searching mine. I was scared I'd mess everything up, that you'd never look at me the same. "Too late," I teased. "You kissed me. You saw me naked. And then you slept with me. I think we're past the point of no return." He chuckled, burying his face in my neck. "Best mistake I ever made." We lay like that for a while, wrapped in quiet affection. No rush, no pressure. Just skin on skin, breath on breath. Eventually, I broke the silence. So, what happens now? He propped himself up on one elbow. I don't want to hide. Not from myself, not from anyone. I blinked. Really? Yeah, I want people to know. I want you to know. I want to be seen with you. Like, with you. With our fingers laced and everything. My throat tightened, a smile creeping up before I could stop it. You really mean that? He nodded. I'm not saying I've figured out every part of this, but I know how I feel about you. That's real. We spent the rest of the day together, cooking a lazy breakfast, trading jokes, stealing kisses between bites of toast. It was weird how natural it all felt, like we'd just stepped into something we'd both been waiting for without realizing it. That night, he asked if I wanted to grab a drink at a bar, not one of the gay ones, just a regular dive we used to hit up with friends. I hesitated for a moment. Not because I didn't want to, but because this time, it would mean something different. People might stare, I said. He reached out, brushing his thumb across my knuckles. Let them. So we went. The place was dim and crowded, buzzing with the usual energy of a Saturday night. We ordered drinks, sat at the bar, and for a while, we just existed, like we always had. Except this time, his hand found mine under the table, and he didn't let go. I saw a few glances, a couple of raised eyebrows. But none of it mattered. Not with his thumb stroking circles against my skin, like he was reminding me he was right there. At some point, a guy walked up. Tall, smooth, confident, in that way that made you instantly suspicious. Hey, he said to me, eyes flicking over Gary like he wasn't even there. Did it hurt? I blinked. What? When you fell from heaven, he smirked, leaning in. Can I buy you a drink? I opened my mouth to reply, but Gary was faster. He slid closer, draping an arm over my shoulder and pulling me in like it was second nature. He's taken, he said smoothly. By me. The guy's smile faltered. Oh, my bad. He turned and melted back into the crowd. I looked up at Gary, stunned and a little impressed. Possessive much, he shrugged. I've waited too long to be subtle. I sipped my drink, grinning. Still think you're straight? He looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Not anymore. And just like that, I knew this wasn't some temporary spark. This was real. Messy, unexpected, maybe a little scary, but real. And finally, we were ready for it. 3 months later, Gary held my hand under the table at his parents' house. His mom had just brought out dessert, and his dad was cracking a corny joke about how Gary finally brought someone home who could match his sarcasm. It was awkward, sweet, and painfully normal. And somehow, that meant everything. Coming out wasn't a one-time event for Gary. It was a process. First to his sister, then to a few close friends, then his parents. Each step came with nerves, but he never once backed away from me, not even a little. We weren't perfect. We had fights. We had doubts. But every time we found our way back to each other, stronger. Love wasn't some grand gesture or dramatic kiss in the rain. It was Sunday mornings with pancakes and too much syrup. It was sleepy forehead kisses, late-night arguments about what to watch, the way he'd steal my hoodie and never return it. It was us. As we walked home that night, he pulled me close and kissed the top of my head. I still don't know exactly what I am, he whispered. But I know I'm yours. And that finally was more than enough.